The entire galaxy gasped in shock when the Farlands declared war on humanity without a proper casus belli. In truth, everyone already knew that a human-Farland conflict was boiling, yet no one expected such sudden unfolding of events. When humanity entered the galactic stage, they were seen as nothing more than the passive pacifist traders near the galactic rim. After all, that's what the humans wanted to be seen as. Any conflict they would have with other species would quickly be resolved by a compromise or a settlement. Humans are weak, many believed. They're cowards, but they have fair prices. So when the Farland Commonwealth wanted to claim a system within the United Nations of Earth's territory, everyone immediately knew the humans were screwed. It's one thing to exert claim over a neighbor's system that's directly bordering your territory, but it is sheer absurdity to claim one so deep into their territory, mere 3 jumps into their home system. No one actually knew what the Farlands wanted in this system, but naturally, the United Nations of Earths refused this and pushed for a compromise. For months, the humans kept suggesting agreements and negotiations to the Farlands, yet they all fell on deaf ears. Why would they? The Farlands are not only the oldest civilization in the galaxy after the now extinct ancient species known only as the First Ones, they are also subsequently the strongest military and technologically speaking. They had zero reason to acquiesce to the humans' proposals and could just simply take a system that they want through force. Yet the system being so deep into the territory provided its own set of problems for the Farlands, even if they do get hold of it. 7 Earth months and 12 days after the Farlands expressed their interest over the disputed system, they formally declared war on the United Nations of Earth. Not even 2 hours later, United Nations of Earth surveillance systems lit up like fireworks, as multiple sensors from across the solar system all flare out the same warning. A void vessel had jumped into the humans' home system, right at the orbit of Mars. How this vessel managed to sneak past the detection of neighboring systems, then break through the jump net escapes the minds of the galaxy's greatest engineers and physicists. Yet everyone is in consensus to think that this is one of the fabled Farland technology, one that they've never revealed in all the millennia they've interacted with other species. This unknown vessel launched a single payload towards Earth, then disappeared just as quickly as it appeared. With the said payload traveling at 99.9% the speed of light, it only took more or less 3 minutes for it to reach Earth. The effects were devastating, to say the least. Footage from the lunar base, as well as satellites between Earth and Mars, captured the events that unfolded. A bright flash of light, followed by the scattered remains of what was once the birthplace of humanity. The beautiful blue marble, suspended on a beam of light, now reduced to dust and debris as if a child had thrown a mud ball onto the wall. I remember oh so clearly how Ariane, my human assistant archivist, fell to the floor trembling and in tears as we watched the events live. It was the first time I've ever seen a human display such emotions. The following weeks that followed was a nightmare made real for humanity. Every hour, a human planet falls to the might of the Farlands. They were not conquered. No ground troops were dropped for occupation. Every single one suffered the terrible fate that Earth had suffered. A planet cracker. The Farlands were so intent on their genocide that they even went after human refugees that fled to other species for asylum. No one was spared. Either they surrender the humans or they get the same treatment. It pains me to say this, but we too, in the Kalari archives, surrendered Ariane to the Farlands. What choice did we have? We're not even affiliated with any minor power. Had we refused, we would have been massacred and all our records erased. We collectively agreed that the preservation of future knowledge was more important. There goes humanity, everyone thought. Another species to cross off in the archives. Humanity is officially dead, or so we thought. Nobody really knows when it all started, or where for that matter. It's difficult to track down all the reports from millions of planets all across Farland space, but one thing is for certain. A year after the last human was supposedly killed, After the apparent last human words, "Earth endures," were uttered, a series of stomach-churning crimes began to be reported in multiple Farland planets. The first, that truly made the headlines into the wider galaxy, was the carpenter of Alx 7. One morning, in the ecumenopolis of Alx 7, a chair was found atop the Monument of Triumph. This monument was built to commemorate the Farlands' uncountable victories against its adversaries and the unfaltering might of its people. In any other case, this would have just been a random instance of juvenile vandalism, were it not for the fact that this chair was made entirely of Farland body parts. Their chitinous limbs served as the chair's armrest, legs, and seat, while the victim's thorax and head were fashioned into the chair's back and headrest, respectively. Fresh green mucus still oozed out of the hastily hacked body parts, suggesting that whoever was responsible for this committed the act the same night. A bright yellow post-it note was plastered on the victim's forehead, with the following words written using the victim's green bodily fluids: "Earth endures." The planetary government immediately went into a manhunt to root out those responsible, yet they were unable to find anyone or even get so much as a lead. It was as if the culprit or culprits vanished into thin air. This would continue on for 11 more victims over the course of 3 months. Not a week later, a video uploaded anonymously in the galaxy-wide net would gain traction. This video will send a wave of shock and utter disgust throughout the entire galaxy in the same magnitude that the destruction of Earth did. In it, 2 fully nude humans wearing nothing but black aprons appear to be standing inside a dimly lit cemented room. They introduced themselves as "Fuck Around and Find Out." The 2 then went on to play a skit about how hungry they were and discussed what they should have for dinner before the one called Find Out mused that he has an idea. He went out of frame for a brief second before pushing in a massive table covered with black cloth. With a graceful flourish, he removed the covering to reveal 3 Farland individuals tied up and gagged: 1 adult male, 1 adult female, and 1 young female Farland. The one called Fuck Around expressed delight at how fresh the lobsters his partner brought are. In the interest of my own sanity, I refused to go into detail how they performed the act. But the 2 then began to feast on the adult male Farland while he was still alive, forcing the remaining 2 to watch in horror as they desperately tried to escape their binds. In the human's own words, it was absolute depravity. The Farland's agonizing screeches are forever burned into my brain. After the male fell silent and stopped struggling, they moved on to the adult female and then to the child. The video ended with them zooming into their mouths as they chewed on the Farland's flesh, viscous green fluid overflowing from their mouths before they swallowed and uttered the words, "Earth endures." The Farland Commonwealth was furious and immediately went on a crusade to find out the source of the broadcast, but they were left stumped when the upload signal was traced back to Kalmazka, the Farland Commonwealth's center of government and seat of power. Even more ridiculous was that the device signature matched that of the current enlightened general's personal communications device. Were the perpetrators hiding in the Farlands' very own home planet? Inside the most heavily guarded location in all of their territory, do they have access to the communications device of the most powerful individual in the entire galaxy? Just the thought itself is preposterous, yet it was enough for the Commonwealth to scour the entire complex inside out, to look for hidden pathways, secret chambers, or unknown rooms, effectively halting all governmental procedures for an entire day. All to no avail. To the ignorant, this may all seem like empty threats. They may put up these distasteful acts of terrorism, but these all just amount to nothing in the grand scheme of things. Yet anyone who actually knows what they're talking about would agree that the almighty and all-powerful Farland Commonwealth trembled that day. The bizarre string of barbarism didn't stop there. On the contrary, reports would only exponentially increase in both volume and magnitude following that event. Entire cities would suddenly be engulfed by a dirty bomb. Thousands of Farland civilians would be discovered hanged and flayed in forests all across their planet. Videos would spread of humans wearing masks, fashioned after Earth animals, as they force entire Farland families to commit unspeakable acts. Eventually, Everyone finally realized that these are all premeditated attacks, especially since every single case reiterates the now infamous and dreaded phrase, "Earth endures." The Farland Commonwealth would finally grab a hold of a lead when they captured a human in Ascaron Beta. The human was wearing a vest, with explosives strapped all over it, but it failed to detonate due to a circuit failure. 7 other cities in the same planet reported suicide bombings, with tremendously high casualty rates, numbering in the millions. The bombers specifically targeted infrastructure that would cause a cascade of collateral damage in order to maximize the death toll. This one in particular was caught attempting to blow up an underground fusion reserve, perhaps in their attempt to show the galaxy a false bravado and that they were unfazed by the heinous acts. The Commonwealth foolishly decided to broadcast live their torture and interrogation of the captured human. Yet to their surprise, the human did not even put up a fight. He was quick to reveal that they were escaped convicts of the United Nations of Earth's highly secret maximum security prison, Tartarus. Not many knew what Tartarus was, but we in the archives were well aware that it is the abominable place where humanity hides their most disgusting, most disturbing parts of themselves that they do not want the galaxy to know. Serial killers, terrorists, criminal organizations, everything that humanity had decided to move on from were all imprisoned in an Earth-sized prison somewhere in deep space. Our last independent calculations estimated the prison's inmate population to be 3 trillion. He went on to say that there were no organizers and that no one was in charge. The last human they executed turned out to be the head warden of Tartarus, and he was the last human they found for a reason. His execution was broadcasted all throughout Tartarus for all the inmates to see, and his death served as the key to open the prison and let out humanity's evil. "You're all well and truly fucked now, lobsters." He grinned with a maniacal smile. "You thought you wiped out the humans, but all you did was kill the ones in charge." He stood up and showed the numerous freshly stitched cuts all over his torso, revealing the explosives implanted inside of his body. He then shouted, "Earth endures," before the video cut out to static.